think parenting is a very dangerous subject to write about because it is potentially a very dry, very dull subject. And what makes my books different, all of my books that I've written, different to most of the other parenting books out there, is that they're fun to read. We're busy, we're tired, we're parents. The last thing we want is to pick up a book which tells us that all children are miserable and depressed and it's our fault. So this book really seeks to give you the information, to take you on a fun read. It's nostalgic, it's informative, it's funny, it's also sad in places. So it's got a little bit of everything, but it's certainly not a tome, and it should be an entertaining read. That's what we want. I think we have to be careful because this isn't the worst time ever to be a child. There have been much worse times to be a child, but certainly something about the magic, the real magic of childhood, unquestionably has disappeared. Just go outside and talk to people. It is true. Children can't climb trees anymore because there's a rule which says they can't climb trees. If they're crying, parents aren't, grown-ups aren't allowed to go and console them. If they're naughty, we're not allowed to tell them off anymore. All these things, which are very, very important for children, are sort of being eaten away at. And so what the book seeks to do, by speaking to my granny, who's 85, and very sort of old-fashioned in her ways, unsurprisingly, is to talk to the oldest generation alive, really, and say to them, look, how were you raised? How did you raise your children? And are there key, real sort of pearls of wisdom from your childhood and from your parenting that you could tell me, and that I, then Liz, can find ways that with Nintendos and 24-hour television and all of that, which have their good sides, how can I put that old-fashioned advice back in today's world? And the great thing I've discovered was you really, really can. It's very easy. It was funny interviewing my granny. I didn't really know Granny very well as a child. She lives very far away from us, and she was quite a sort of matriarchal figure, and she's Scottish, and she was quite this sort of dour lady, but also had with a lovely sense of humour, but I never got to know that. And what's been fantastic for me in this book is to get to know her as a mother, because we're both mothers now. She's my granny and I'm her granddaughter, but with the common ground is that we're mothers. So we have, and wives, we have the same concerns about keeping a marriage and a household and raising happy children. And it's been lovely to get to know her over this year. I've been up to Scotland many times, and I've, sat with my book and interviewed her, and I've been so shocked at how open she's been. She's told me all of these stories, and there's almost no subject. You don't talk about sex with your granny, you really don't. But we've touched on every subject, really, which in some way, affects children and childhood, and I've got to know her very well. I think the thing I tried to do most of all in this book is not to sort of paint a very rose-tinted picture. Times weren't always fantastic back in the 1920s and 30s, nor were they in the 60s, but there are very simple pieces of advice that you can take, and you can really apply them today. So no one's trying to pretend that it's much worse now and it was wonderful back, way back when. We do work. Most families, both parents work. Many families are now split families, And so I try to make it tailored to all different kinds of working and not say, this is the right way to do it, this is the wrong way to do it, but that if you look at the evidence and if you listen to the professionals, these things actually really do work, and you can make them work right now in whatever family you live in. Try it, and it could do your children a real lot of good.